leading Jaguar in the
You've probably heard that yesterday Trump declared a national emergency, and he did it for one reason: to pay for his border wall. But putting politics aside, what does this mean for wildlife, mainly jaguars on the Mexico border? With just under 2,000 miles of high fence, many believe a wall would surely have an impact on wildlife corridors. And I know I sound like an anti-Trump environmentalist, but hold on for just a minute here. This is crazy, but it's more likely than you think, what I'm about to tell you. Recently, an extremely rare jaguar was captured in Arizona. His name is El Jefe, and he is one of two known to frequent the mountains of southern Arizona. Believe it or not, jaguars used to be a very common sight in the southwest United States, before ranchers trapped and poisoned them, until these jungle cats completely disappeared by the 1950s. So far, 3 have wandered over from the northern jungles of Mexico in the past 5 years. The first one was seen around 1996. Now there have been 3 recently seen. As crazy as it sounds, jaguars could make a comeback. I know that because grizzly bears, wolves, and even bison were nearly extinct in the lower 48 states of America. But in recent years, they have all returned to America, to sustainable populations. But will a massive border wall ruin the jaguars' chances of returning to America? Maybe not, because there are a couple other options for these big cats. And believe me, this is something that has happened before. I'm just looking at the past and what people have already done in this kind of situation. There are actually 2 ways that they can still return to the Southwest. And both have already been done successfully. Stick with me here. This is where the future seems like something out of a science fiction book. In the next decade, you may still be able to go on a jaguar photo tour near Tucson. Trophy hunters may even be able to go through the game and fish and apply for a tag, if there's enough of them in the area, which I really think there could be. That is already happening with grizzlies in Wyoming. Remember, the grizzlies were almost completely gone from the lower 48 states, and now they're back to sustainable populations, with a few people disagreeing. So, here's how these jungle cats can return. The first method: wildlife crossings. And I know that does sound crazy, but yes, they have been done. Actually, they've been built all over the world. Take a look at this wildlife crossing over the Trans-Canada Highway near Banff National Park. That is a massive wildlife crossing, allowing the bears, moose, and all other species to cross over the highway safely without being deterred from following their migratory paths. Or this one in Kenya, elephants walking through a tunnel under a highway. That is amazing, but it's been proven to work. Now, it might be a little expensive, but probably not as expensive as the border wall itself. So, I really think that this is something that the US would pay for. And you know, there's so many people out there that would help conservationists raise money to actually build a structure like this, or 2. The second approach is much more commonly seen, and it is also easier and way less expensive. The Arizona Game and Fish can simply import captured jaguars from Mexico into Arizona. Now, that's not as cool as seeing them return on their own, but it has worked for many different species. I have seen this method work very well in the Black Hills, which are an isolated mountain range in South Dakota. Though they were killed off in these sacred mountains completely, bison, mountain goat, bighorn sheep, and even mountain lion have all made a rebound in the Black Hills. That's a good sign for jaguars, especially considering the Black Hills are a small range of mountains with isolated habitat, commonly called island in the plains. You'll see what I mean by isolation when you look at this aerial satellite image of the Black Hills. Yes, the habitat is very isolated, but in the Black Hills, you can now hunt mountain lions. The local Game and Fish actually encourage a certain number to be hunted every year to keep these big predators in check. So, with careful management and enough habitat, jaguars can return to Arizona and prosper once again. So realistically, Trump will probably get his wall, and a combination of 2 reintroduction methods will bring back the jaguars. I think only 2 or 3 wildlife crossings will actually be constructed due to their complexity and the cost. Plus, the government won't want people using those crossings, which would certainly keep the animals from using them. Letting the occasional jaguar cross over by itself, while a handful are captured in Mexico and released in Arizona, should keep the genetics pretty healthy. That is realistically what will probably happen here in this situation. It will probably be 10 to 20 years before the jaguars actually populate the American Southwest. But it really probably will happen. We see this constant conflict between environmentalists, conservationists, and people who actually want the border wall put up. Well, if it's going to go up, there's no stopping it. But trust me, there's still hope for the jaguars in Arizona. And this video isn't about promoting the border wall. It's simply being realistic, looking what has happened in the past with similar animal species. Most people don't realize that the US is covered with interstate highways, and most of these interstates usually have high fences along both sides of them, which keep the animals from moving. But a large bridge every 100 miles or so where a stream or river goes under the interstate is where animals cross through, and we've seen this happen with grizzly bears in Montana because they're expanding their range way farther than anyone thought they would. If you don't believe me, just click on the links below. Most of them are to the photos and stories of where I got this information. Trust me, it can happen. For more videos like this, subscribe to Foster Gulch Outdoors and hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching today. We will see you all next time.